Okay, what are inequalities? So inequalities, so what are inequalities? So whenever you come across two or more expressions, algebraic expression or arithmetic expressions, and they are connected by the symbol less than, greater than, less than or equals to, greater than or equals to, then such expressions, we call them as inequalities, right? For example, 9 is greater than 4. 2x plus 3 is less than 5. 3x squared plus 5x is greater than 1. All these expressions here, we call them inequalities because they all are connected by either greater than signs or less than or greater than signs, right? Now, few properties or the rules of inequalities which you always need to keep in mind, and they form the basic concept of inequality questions. So, rule number 1, whenever you add or subtract the same number from both the sides of an inequality, sign of inequality remains same. Rule number 2, if you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a positive number, sign of inequality remains same. Rule number 3, when you solve an inequality or divide or multiply it by a negative number, inequality sign flips. All right. Now, we can say that inequalities behave much like equations, but there is one big exception to this. That is, whenever you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, now what happens? Yes, the sign of the inequality flips. All right. So with this, let's get started with the first question what we have here. If 1 is greater than 1 minus AB is greater than 0, which of the following must be true? So this is must be question. That means these options are always true for they are always true for any given value of A and B as per the condition given in the question. All right. So let's get started. So here, what will be the first step to solve this question? Of course, we need to simplify this, right? We need to simplify the expression there in the question, that is 1 is greater than 1 minus AB is greater than 0. Now, as we can observe that all the options here, they are in the form of AB only. So we will get rid of this one here in the middle part of this inequality, right? In order to get rid of this one, we need to subtract 1 from all the parts of the inequality. So 1 minus 1. 1 minus AB minus 1 is greater than 0 minus 1. So this gives us 0 is greater than minus AB is greater than minus 1. All right. So here minus AB lies between 0 and minus 1. We will convert it to positive AB. In order to convert it into positive AB, we need to multiply this with negative 1, right? So 1, when we multiply this, so what happens here? 0. Now, as we are multiplying with a negative number, so the sign of the inequality flips. So greater than will become less than, and this is AB. Again less than, and this is plus 1. So what we are able to derive here with what was given to us in the question, that the product of A and B that lies between 0 and 1. All right. Now, the moment we have AB is less than 1, so which option is always true? Of course, that's option 3. So option 3 is always true, right? So we can eliminate answer choices A, B, and D, because these answer choices, they do not have option 3. All right. Now, let's check option 1. So option 1 is A by B is greater than 0. So A by B is greater than 0. How can we derive this? All right, so what we can observe over here, that the product of AB is greater than 0, right? So if the product of AB is greater than 0, what we can infer? That A and B have same signs, right? Same sign, right? So either both of them, they are positive, or both of them are negative, right? Okay, now if both of them are either positive or both of them are either negative, what does it tells us? That A by B will again be positive only, right? So A by B ratio is always greater than 0. Okay, so that means this is again true, right? So if this is true always, so what are the answer choices we can eliminate? Of course, we can eliminate option C. We are left with E only, right? So here we have not solved for option 2 because it was not required. We got the option E, which does not, which do not have option 2, right? But in case if we have to solve for this, what we can do? Okay, let's check option 2. So A by B is less than 1. All right. Now, we can pick a numbers, right? If we do not have something from which we can infer immediately, we can pick some numbers, right? But we need to ensure that those numbers should satisfy the condition given here. So let's take A is equals to 1 by 3, yes, and B is equals to 1 by 2, right? So with this, what will we get for A by B? That is 2 by 3. Of course, this makes it true, right? So that means this is true for A is equals to 1 by 3 and B is equals to 1 by 2. But as it is must be question, and while we are checking in with numbers, right, we need to substitute at least 2 numbers for the given variables. So let's take a different set of numbers this time. So we can take, okay, let's take A is equals to 1 by 2 and B is equals to 1 by 3, right? So with this, what will we have? 1 by 2 by 1 by 3, which will give us A by B is equals to 3 by 2, right? Now 3 by 2, is it less than 1? No, it is not less than 1. So that means this is false. Now the moment it becomes false, we know that A by B is less than 1 is not always true, right? So it is not true, right? So we can eliminate option 2 from here, right? So hope this is clear. Though we solved for the option 2, but it was not required because we were able to get the answer directly after solving option 1 and option 3 only. All right, now let's do the next question. Okay, so there are certain operations which you can perform on inequalities. So you can combine two inequalities, two or more inequalities, right? So W is less than X, X is less than Y. If you combine these two inequalities, we have W is less than X is less than Y. That implies, or from this we can infer that W is less than Y, right? The other operation which can be performed on two or more inequality is addition. You can add two or more inequalities together. So let's take an example. So if A is less than B, C is less than D, and if we add these two inequalities, we get A plus C is less than B plus D. Now, one thing which is very important while we are adding two or more inequalities together, that before adding, ensure that that sign of the inequality should be in the same direction, or inequalities should face in the same direction. All right. Now, do not try to subtract inequalities, do not try to multiply the inequalities, or do not try to divide the inequalities, because if you do so, you can fall into the traps. So best avoid it. Okay, now we have the other question here. Which of the following is equivalent to the pair of inequalities? So what are the inequalities we have? So x plus 6 is greater than 10. So with this, we will get x is greater than 10 minus 6. So x is greater than 4. All right. Now, let's take the second inequality here. Second inequality, we have x minus 3 is less than or equals to 5. So with this, we have x is less than or equals to 5 plus 3, that is 8, right? Now, we can combine these two inequalities, yes or no? Yes, of course, right? Because as per the first inequality, we have x is greater than 4. And with the second inequality, we have x is less than or equals to 8. So we can combine these two inequalities and we get that x lies between 4 to 8, right? So what's the answer to this question? Option D, and we can eliminate all other answer choices, right? Okay, let's do one more question on the inequality. So if D is greater than 0 and 0 is less than 1 minus C by D is less than 1, which of the following must be true? So again, this is must be question, right? So what does that mean? That the options will always be true provided for the given values of C and D as per the conditions given in the questions, right? So with this, let's get started. So we have D as greater than 0. And the other inequality, what we have here is 0 is less than 1 minus C by D is less than 1, right? So we will simplify it further. In order to simplify it, we will subtract 1 from all the parts of the inequality. So 0 minus 1 is less than 1 minus C by D minus 1 is less than 1 minus 1. All right. So with this, we have minus 1 is less than minus C by D is less than 0. All right. Now this negative C by D, we will change it to the positive C by D. In order to change it to positive C by D, we will multiply it with negative 1, right? So with this, we get 1. And now whenever we are multiplying an inequality by a negative number, what happens? Sign flips, right? So we will flip the sign of the inequality here, and here we have C by D. And again, we flip the sign of inequality, so greater than, right, 0. Okay, so what we have from the question stem, or what is the condition which is given to us in the question? That C by D lies between 0 and 1. All right. Now there is one thing more which we can infer, that as it is given to us that D is positive, so we can multiply this inequality with D without changing the sign of the inequality. So let's multiply this. So here, if we multiply this, we get D is greater than C is greater than 0, right? So these are the two inferences we have from the question stem. All right, so okay, with this immediately, we know that option 1 is always true, right? So option 1 is always true. Then what are the answer choices which can be eliminated? Answer choice B. Okay, so that's, yeah, even option answer choice D also can be eliminated because it does not include option 1, right? Fine. So with this, we are sorted with option 1. Now, option 2, we have that C by D is less than 1. Wow, very good. Again here, from the question stem only, we have inferred that C by D is less than 1. So what does that mean? Again, this is always true. If option 2 is always true, we can eliminate option A also, and any other option, no. So that means we need to check for option 3. Now, what is option 3? Option 3 is c square plus d square is greater than 1, right? Now, immediately, if nothing is clicking, do not waste time, right, figuring out some algebraic fundamentals here. Pick the numbers because it's easy to pick the numbers here. But ensure that those numbers should satisfy the condition given in the question. So what is the condition? That d is greater than c is greater than 0, right? So we can take, if we take c is equals to 1 by 3, right? And d we can take it as 1 by 2, satisfying the condition given in the question that d is greater than c is greater than 0. All right, so here we have c square, that is 1 by 3 square, which is 9, plus d square, that is 1 by 2 square, which is 1 by 4. Whether this is greater than 1, is this greater than 1? Yes. Because what is the LCM you get? 36. So 4 plus 9, right? 13 by 36. Of course, it is not greater than 1, right? So if it is not greater than 1, so that means this is false, right? This is not always true because it is not true for c is equals to 1 by 3 and d is equals to 1 by 2. So that means this is not always true. So this is false. All right. So with this, we can eliminate option E or answer choice E also, right? And the answer to this question is C. So hope this is clear. All right. Now, moving on to the next step. Now, what was the very important takeaway from these two must be questions, what we did now? So this one and the other one we did here, right? So the very important takeaway from these two questions is, first is, whenever we have some complex expression or the inequality given in the question stem, make it sure that you simplify it, right? The other takeaway from this question is that if immediately something is not clicking to you from the algebra fundamentals, and it's pretty easy to pick the numbers because we have two variables, right? Go ahead and pick the numbers, right? Third thing, what we can infer over here from this question or the previous question was that whenever we multiply or divided inequality with a negative number, the sign of the inequality flips. So hope with these three takeaways, now let's move on to absolute value equation. So absolute value equation, what are absolute value equations? So here mod of x is equals to a, right? That means x is equals to plus a or minus a. Now, what is the visual explanation for absolute value equation is that absolute value, they represents the distance of a number, right? Or over here, they represent the distance of x from 0 on the number line, right? The distance of x from 0 on the number line. And what is the distance of x from 0 on the number line? That is a units, right? Now, as this distance is on both the left-hand side of 0 and right-hand side of 0, so that's the reason we have x is equals to plus or minus a. Similarly, if mod of x is equals to 5, right, what does it represent on the number line? That means the distance of x from 0 on the number line, right, is 5 units. Now, as this distance is both on the left-hand side of 0 and also on the right-hand side of the 0, so that means x can take both -5 and +5, right? And one more thing I would want to add over here. For example, if it is given to you, mod of x minus 2 is equals to 1. Now, what does it represent on the number line? It represents the distance, okay, distance of x from 2 on number line is 1, right? So that means this distance will be on both the sides of 2. That is on the left-hand side of 2, right? As well as on the right-hand side of 2. So what is this distance? 1 unit, and here again it is 1 unit. So that means on the right-hand side, x will take the value 3. And on the left-hand side, x will take the value 1, right? So what are the possible solutions, or what are the solutions of this equation? That x is equals to +1 and +3, right? So hope this is clear. So though we know the formula, and again, if we solve this using the formula, what I mentioned here, so x minus 2 is equals to, right, +1, or x minus 2 is equals to -1. So this gives us x is equals to 3, or x is equals to +1, right? So it's very, very important that you know how we solve absolute value equation using the formula. What is the interpretation of this equation over here, right? But at the same time, it is very important that you should be knowing that what it means whenever we are plotting it on the number line. Okay, now we will extend this to absolute value inequality. So the last slide we have seen, mod of x is equals to a, right? This time it is mod of x is less than a. So with this, once you take out this outside the modulus bracket, so x lies between minus a to plus a. Now, let us figure out what is the visual representation of this inequality means. So again, it means the distance of x from 0 on the number line is this time less than a units, is less than a units. So that means on both the sides of 0, that is on the left hand side of 0 as well as on the right hand side of the 0, right? So that means x lies between, x can take any values from minus a to plus a. But in this case, it will not include these 2 points, that is minus a and plus a, because we do not have equal to sign over here, right? So if it would have been the equal to sign, then, for example, mod of x is less than or equals to a, then it would have been minus a less than or equals to x less than or equals to plus a, right? Okay, now let's look at the formula number 2. So this was formula number 1, and the formula number 2 is mod of x is greater than a. So with this, we have that x is either less than minus a or x is greater than a. Now let us look at the visual representation of these two inequalities on the number line. So here again, it means that the distance of x from 0 on the number line is greater than a units, right? So this is a units and this is a units, right? But the distance is greater than, the distance of x from 0 is greater than a units. So that means any value of x which is less than minus a on this side will satisfy this inequality, right? So that's what we have, x is less than minus a. And again, coming to the right hand side, that is any value of x which is greater than a will satisfy this inequality, right? Because the distance is more than a units on both the sides of the inequality, right? All right, so with this, let's do this question. So we have a number line, and there is a shaded part on this number line, and the shaded part of this number line, it is from -5 to 3. And -5 is also included in the shaded part, and 3 is also included, right? Now let's read the question and understand this. Which of the following inequalities is an algebraic expression for the shaded part of the number line above? So the question is asking which of these inequalities, they are the algebraic expression for the shaded part over here. Now, so in the shaded part, we know x lies from where to where? X lies from -5 to +3, right? Okay, so let's solve this. So if we look at option A, so here again, if we go with the visual representation, right? So it means that the x lies between from where to where? It lies from -3 to +3. The distance of x from 0 is -3 to +3. But here it is from -5. So this is obviously not the correct answer. Now, in this case, the distance of x from 0 is from where to where? It is from -5 to +5. Okay, so again, we need to 3 only, right? So definitely, this is again not the correct answer. All right, so here what it means, the distance of x from 2 on the number line is less than or equals to 3 units, right? So this is 3 units this side, and this is 3 units this side. So of course, this is going to be 5. And what will we have here? Yes, 1, 0, and this is going to be -1, right? So that means x lies from -1 to +5, but we need from -5 to 3, right? So again, this is not the correct answer. Hope this is clear. Even if you solve it also, you can solve it. X minus 2 lies from, what is given? Yeah, -3 to +3, right? So this implies that -3 plus 2, that is -1, right? And 3 plus 2, which is 5. So that's what we got here also, right? Okay, now let's understand what is this answer choice over here. So this answer choice is the distance between x and 1 is 4 units, right? So again, so the distance between x and 1, right? So if it is 1, and here we have x, and this is x over here, definitely on both the sides of 1. So this is 4 units. So this is 4 units. It is less, I'm so sorry, it is less than or equals to 4 units, right? And this is again 4 units over here, right? So of course, that means this is 5. And here what will we have? 0, -1, -2, -3. So that means -3 over here, right? So what does that mean? That x lies between, because as it is less than or equals to 4. So x lies from -3 to +5. And even if you solve it also, right, you can solve it, and what will you get? So x minus 1 lies between -4 to +4, right? So what will you have here? So my x lies between -3 to +5. So that's what we got here also, right? So again, it depends on you which one you want to proceed ahead. If you want to use formula directly for these type of simple questions, definitely you can go ahead. But you should be also knowing the visual representation of the modulus inequalities or equation. All right. So anyways, we need it from -5 to 3. So definitely this is again not the correct answer. So anyways, option or answer choice E is the correct answer for this question. And we can check it also. So here, x plus 1, this lies from -4 to +4. right? So this implies that x lies from -5 to +3. So hope this is clear. All right, now let's move on to the next question here. So if 4 is less than 7 minus x by 3, which of the following must be true? So again, this is must be question. So we need to be careful, right? That is, if we are picking the numbers, how many times we need to pick the numbers? At least 2 times. In first time only, if you are able to eliminate the option, that's fine. But if not, then ensure that you are substituting at least 2 times, or you have to check all different types of numbers, right? Fine, let's go ahead with this. So we have 4 is less than 7 minus x by 3. So the first step is we will simplify this. In order to simplify, we can multiply this inequality with 3 to get rid of the denominator, and this multiplication will not even flip the sign of this inequality because 3 is a positive number. So let's multiply this inequality with 3. So we have 12 is less than 7 minus x. Now let's bring all the variables to one side. So x is less than 7 minus 12, that is minus 5, right? So we got as per the question, that x is less than minus 5. With this, we can immediately eliminate option 1, because option 1 is always false, because as per the condition we have in the question, that if x is less than minus 5, whether x is greater than 5, that is always true. No, it is not always true. In fact, it is always false, right? So we can eliminate it. If we can eliminate option 1, now tell me, what are the answer choices we can eliminate? Yes, we can eliminate answer choices, which includes 1, right? So that means we can eliminate answer choice C, and we can also eliminate answer choice E. All right, now let's move on with the option 2. So option 2, we have mod of x plus 3 is greater than 2, right? So what does this mean? This time we have greater than sign, right? So that means it is of the form of absolute value equation. Mod of x is greater than a, right? So that means x is either greater than a or x is less than minus a, right? So x is less than minus a. All right, so with this, what we have, x plus 3 is either greater than 2 or x plus 3 is less than minus 2, right? So with this, we get x is greater than 2 minus 3, that is minus 1. Or the other one is x is less than minus 2 minus 3, that is minus 5. All right. Now, as per the question, it is given that x is less than, if x is less than minus 5, whether this option is always true. Yes, this is always true, right? So do not get confused because of this solution over here, that x is greater than minus 1, because you need to understand that as per the question, you can take only those values of x which are less than minus 5, right? And definitely this particular inequality, absolute value inequality, will always satisfy that because of this inequality over here, right? That x is less than minus 5. So here, this particular inequality, right, or the range of x is irrelevant, because whatever the values we can take for x from the question, right, that will definitely be satisfied by this particular inequality, right? So hope this is clear. So that means this is again always true. If this is always true, right, that means we can eliminate answer choice B, and any other Any other we can? No, we cannot. And we have to check option 3. All right, now let's check option 3 here. So if we check option 3, so minus of x plus 5 is greater than 0, right? Now we will multiply this inequality with a negative number, right? So what will happen? The sign of this inequality will flip. So from greater than, it will become less than 0. And with this, we can infer that x is less than minus 5. And definitely, that means option 3 is again always true, right? So if this is always true, we can eliminate option A, and option D is the correct answer, right? So hope this is clear. All right, now with this, let's move on to quadratic inequalities. Now, quadratic inequalities, the general form of the quadratic inequalities is ax square plus bx plus c is either greater than 0 or greater than equals to 0, right? Or it can be less than 0 or less than equals to 0, right? Now, let's try to understand how to solve quadratic inequalities. So for this, we have an example here. X square minus 5x plus 6 is greater than 0. So what does it imply? That means we need the values of x such that this inequality or this particular expression is always positive. So that will be the solution. That will be the range of the x values which will satisfy this inequality. All right. Now, step number 1 to solve this is set the expression equal to 0. So that's what we did here. X square minus 5x plus 6 is equals to 0. Step number 2, find the solution and record it on the number line. So we found the solution of this equation. Now you already know how to find the solution of this equation. So it is a quadratic equation. So you know immediately what are the factors. The factors are x minus 3 and x minus 2 is equals to 0. So the solution for this equation is 2 and 3, right? Now, once you have the solution, right, put them on the number line. So we kept them on the number line 2 and 3. Now, once you have this solution on the number line, this will create certain zones. And here we can see that we have how many zones over here? We are reasons here. We have 3 reasons. Reason A, reason B, and reason C. Reason A, we have x is less than 2. Reason B, we have x lies from 2 and 3, between 2 and 3. And reason C is x is greater than 3, right? Okay, now the next step after this is that you identified the reason over here after putting the solution on the number line, right? The next step is you have to test number from each reason with the original expression. Now, in order to test the number from the reason, what we did, we took any number from any of the reason. We can take basically, and here we have taken x is equals to 0. Now, x is equals to 0 is from which reason? Of course, it is from reason A because x is less than 2 over here. Now, what we need to do with this number? We have to test this number with the original expression. What is the original expression? X square minus 5x plus 6, right? So we will substitute x over there. So 0 square minus 5 times of 0 plus 6. Now, this particular expression, right, it is positive. So what we got or what we can infer from this, that reason A is positive, right? Now, reason A is positive. What is the next step? alternate the signs in each reason. You just need to alternate the signs in each of the reason over here, right? So what does that mean? That when this expression x square minus 5x plus 6 is positive, it is positive in reason A and it is positive in reason C. And what is the solution for the reason, or what are the x values in the reason A? That is when x is less than 2. And what are the range of values for reason C? That is x is greater than 3. All right. So hope this is clear, and that is how we solve the quadratic inequalities. All right. Now let's do the question based on the same. So here, how many of the integers that satisfy the inequality x plus 2 into x plus 3 by x minus 2 is greater than or equals to 0 are less than 5, right? So the question is basically asking the number of integers which satisfy this inequality and they are less than 5, right? Now, one thing which is very clear to us that it is a rational expression, right? And again, coming to the rational expression, in numerator, we have a quadratic, right? Whereas in denominator, we have a linear expression only, right? So we will deal with these numerator and denominator first independently, okay? So here, what is the first step in order to solve the quadratic inequality, right? So because here we have a quadratic, this is a quadratic, right? So first we need to find the solution. Let's go back and check it out. So, okay, sorry. So the first step is set the expression equal to 0, right? So you will set each of the expression equal to 0. So I told you because it was pretty easy. So, but anyways, let's follow this step. So x plus 2, right? And x plus 3 is equals to 0. So with this, we will get the solution as x is equals to minus 2, right? And minus 3, right? And the other expression what we have there in the denominator, this is for numerator. And this is for the denominator. From denominator, what we have? X minus 2 is equals to 0, right? So x is equals to 2. Now over here, do not get confused that why I have picked up x minus 2 or why I considered x minus 2 is equals to 0. See, I'm not considering the expression right now. Okay, what am I considering? I am only considering the numerator part separately and denominator part separately to get the roots for both of these, right? To check the sign, right? Okay, so the second step was find the solution. We got it. And now we will put it on the number line. So if we put this on the number line, so we have here minus 3. Okay, and this is minus 2 and 2. All right. Now, once we have kept all these solutions here, we can see that we have 4 reasons, A, B, C, and D, right? That is, reason A is x is less than minus 3. Reason B is that x lies between minus 3 to 2, right? And reason C is x lies between minus 2 to 2, right? And reason D is x is greater than 2, okay? So, okay, let me just put it here. So minus 2 to 2, and here it is minus 3 to minus 2, and here it is x is less than minus 3, right? Now, what is the third step? Third step is you will check the sign, right? For each of the reasons. So we will take for that, we will take the number from any of the reason. So let's take the number. Let's consider x is equal to 0. Now, x is equals to 0 is from which reason? This is from reason C, right? So we will check this number with the given expression here, right? In order to determine the sign of the expression, right? So we have 0 plus 2, that is 2, right? 0 plus 2 and 0 plus 3, right? 0 minus 2. Now, what we can observe here, numerator is positive, but denominator is negative. So, which makes this expression as negative, right? So, with this, we are able to figure out that in reason C, expression is negative, right? Expression is, so here, reason C, expression is negative, okay? Now, once we have negative over here, once we have negative here, right, we can alternate the sign for other reasons. So negative, positive, here this is positive, here this is positive, right? Okay, so with this, we got that when this expression will be positive, when x is negative, positive, and this is negative. My bad. So this is negative, right? So when the expression is positive, for which reasons it is positive? So let me write it down here so that it is clear to you. Expression is positive for reason B, and which reason? And D. So for reason B, what are the x values? For reason B, x values are from -3 to -2, right? And for reason D, what are the x values? That x is greater than 2. Okay, and that is what the question is asking for, that how many number of integers which makes this expression positive, I will consider equals to 0. So we will hold on for a few minutes. So when this expression is positive, for the number of integers for which this expression is positive, and the values are, and those integers should be less than 5. So anyways, this is positive in the reason B and D, but here in reason B, we do not have any integer. We have integer in reason D, but what is the condition given here? That the integers should be less than 5. So that means we can take x is equals to 3 and x is equals to 4. So two integers. From these two integers will make this expression positive. Okay, but we have not yet considered that the question is not only asking for the number of integers which will make it positive, but it is asking also for the integers which will make it 0. So when the expression is 0, so when the expression is 0, when the numerator becomes 0, and when the numerator becomes 0, we already know, right? When x is equals to -2 and -3. So when x is equals to -2 and x is equals to -3. And of course, do not consider x is equals to 2 now, because it will make the denominator of this expression 0, and hence the expression will not be defined at x is equals to 2, right? So what are the number of integers which satisfy this inequality, that the expression is both positive and 0, right? How many integers are there? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 integers. So our answer choice D, we can eliminate A, B, C, and E. All right, so hope this is clear. So the important takeaway from this question is that you should be knowing how to solve quadratic inequality, right? And this has quadratic inequality, but it is also a rational expression, right? So that is the reason we have considered both numerator and denominator separately to figure out the solution, right? And then to figure out the signs for each of the reasons, right? All right, so, and again, very important, do not forget that when this expression, do not forget to include the number of integers, which will make this expression equal to 0 also, okay? And the very important part, do not consider x minus 2 is equals to 0 or x is equals to 2, because that will make this rational expression undefined. Hope this is clear. Okay, now coming to formulas. So how GMAT tests formulas? As the name itself implies, that formula question will include formula, right? Some formula we do not know, right? But it's going to include formula. But they will give you also, they will define those formulas, right? So basically 4 types of formula questions you will come across. So what are the 4 types of questions? Plug-in formulas. Now, what are plug-in formulas? So here you find a formula. They will give you the values of the variable and they will ask you the value of the variable which is not given in the question, right? Using the formula only, all right? Second type of formula question is strange symbol formula. Now, in these questions, you find a weird symbol, right? And the point here is that weird symbol is irrelevant. So what is relevant? What is relevant over there is the definition associated with the symbol, right? So uh, ensure that you should be knowing the definition well, whatever is associated with that symbol in order to solve the question, in order to solve that particular question, right? Okay, now third type of formula question is formulas with unspecified amounts. So here again, they are going to give you the formula. They will give you the variables there in the formula, but they will not give you the value of the variable, right? But instead, they will define certain changes happening in the variable. So maybe how the variable was before and how it is after the changes, right? So that is what you will be provided in these type of questions. Fourth formula question is sequence formulas. Now sequence formulas question, so here it is a set of numbers, right, which follow a definite rule, right? So now these sequence formulas, they are of two. They can be given to you in 2 types, either direct sequence formulas or you have recursive sequence formula. Now, what is the difference between these two is, okay, so here it is nth term. So what is the difference between these two? Here, once you give the value for n, for example, if we take n is equals to 1, you will get the first term, right? A1 is equals to 2 times of 1 plus 6. That makes it 8. So the first term in the sequence is 8. And if you take n is equals to 2, that is the second term in the sequence. That is going to be 10, right? So second term is 10, first term is 8 and so on. So third term over here will be substitute n is equals to 3. So 6 plus 6, that is 12. So like this, it will go on. So 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and so on, right? Okay, now coming to recursive sequence formula question. Here they will define the term, one term in terms of the another term, right? So that means unless and until here you are not provided a particular term, you may not get the sequence of number as you got over here. You were able to get it without knowing the particular term in the sequence. But here, unless and until they do not give you at least one term, you will not be able to find out the the sequence of terms, right? Of the sequence. Okay. All right, let us do this question. The formula for determining an individual's comedic aptitude C on a given day is defined as QL by J, where J represents the number of jokes told, Q represents the overall joke quality on a scale of 1 to 10, and L represents the number of individual laughs generated. If Nicole told 12 jokes, generated 18 laughs, and earned a comedic aptitude of 10.5, what was the overall quality of her jokes, right? So the first thing what we can observe in this question that we have a formula, and the formula is that comedic aptitude is defined as QL by J, right? And what is Q over here? Q is the quality of the joke, right? So joke quality. And what is L here? L is the number of individual laughs. So individual laughs, okay? And J represents the number of jokes, right? So number of jokes. Okay. And the question is asking for the overall quality of the jokes, right? So what are the variables which are given to us? So the question is asking for joke quality. They have given us the value for the variable L, and L is equals to 18. And what is the number of jokes? Number of jokes is 12. And what is comedic aptitude given here in the question? Comedic aptitude is 10.5, right? So 10.5, right? So let us express Q now in terms of all other given variable. So Q is equals to Cj by L. So C is 10.5 and J is 12 and L is 18. So 6263. Then this goes by 3.5 and the quality of the jokes is 7, right? Overall quality of the jokes. So what is the type of this question? We know it's a formula question and it is plug-in formula question because we have the variables where for few of the variables values are given and there is a known variable for which we need to figure out the value, right? So you just need to substitute the values of the variable in the formula. Okay, moving on to the next question. The competitive edge of a baseball is defined by the formula root W by L, where W represents the number of team wins and L represents the number of teams losses. This year, the GMAT All-Stars had 3 times as many wins and 1/2 as many losses as they had last year. By what factor did their competitive edge increase? All right, so again, this is a formula question and the formula is given about the competitive edge. So competitive edge is defined by root of W by L, and W represents the number of wins and L represents the number of losses. Okay. Now, one thing we can observe here in this question, which is different from the previous question, is that we do not have any absolute values for the variable W, L, and competitive edge, right? So this question is under the category of formula question with unspecified amount, right? Now, how you can do this question is, so let's say that this is the original expression we have, that is, this is for the last year, right? Last year, the competitive edge was, so competitive edge is given by root W by L, the same original formula. And this year, what is given to us for this year competitive edge? That the number of wins is 3 times that of the last year. So we will now modify the original expression, right? So 3W, and the number of losses is 1/2 that of the last year, right? So that means it is L by 2, right? So with this, we get that 6 times of W by L, right? So root of 6, we can write it separately also, W by L. And we know that root of 6, W by L, root of W by L is the competitive edge for the last year, right? And that is what the question is asking. By what factor did their competitive edge increase? So it increases by root of 6, right? So that's the answer to the question. We can eliminate all the other options. Okay, now most of the students, if like they may end up with the answer choice D also, right? So ensure, do not forget the root sign, which is there on 6, okay? And be careful with these type of calculation mistakes. All right, now moving on to the, so that's what we have. Just modify the original expression for these type of questions. So coming to the next question, if symbol of A by C, B by D is equals to AD minus BC for all numbers A, B, C, and D, then 3 by minus of 2, 5 by 4 is what, right? So, okay, this is equals to what? That's the question is asking for. Now, we know that we have some strange symbol here, right, as absolute values. Of course, this is not the absolute values, and this is not even the matrix or the determinant. Okay, so do not get confused, right? We do not have all those on GMAT. So basically, they have defined, the question has defined this symbol as AD minus BC, that is the product. If I take this A as first and C as second, then third, and this is fourth. So it is we need to take the product of first and the fourth number and the product of second and third number and subtract the second product from the first product. That's it, what we need to do, right? So we will follow the steps which are given for this question. So here, so that means we will multiply first and fourth to get the first product, and then we will multiply second and third to get the second product, and this will be subtracted from the first product, right? So this is 22. So hope this is clear. So for these type of questions, you need to apply the steps, okay? All right. So here again, this is one more strange formula question or the strange symbol question, right? So do not get confused with the greatest integer function or something like that. All right. Because all those we do not have on GMAT. Let's read the question here. So if uh, symbol x is greatest integer less than or equal to x, what is the value of symbol of minus 1.6 plus symbol of 3.4 plus symbol of 2.7, right? So in order to solve this question, again, we will apply the steps of whatever is given to us or whatever is defined by this symbol here, right? So here, if we take minus 1.6, so what does this mean? That the number inside the symbol, once we open it, it is the greatest integer less than or equal to x. Now, as it is integer, definitely it cannot be equal to minus 1.6, right? So definitely we need to take the greatest integer, right? So greatest integer less than minus 1.6. Now, what is the greatest integer less than minus 1.6? Now, if it's giving you a problem to figure out, put it on the number line. So here we have minus 1.6. So greatest integer less than minus 1.6. So that means on the left-hand side of minus 1.6. And what is the next greatest integer, but which is less than minus 1.6? Of course, it is minus 2. So the value for this is minus 2. All right, now let's interpret the same way. Symbol for 3.4, right? So here again, it is greatest integer less than 3.4, right? If problem is there in understanding or inferring it, put it on the number line. So greatest integer, which is less than, right? So go with this first. So less than, so that means on the left-hand side of 3.4, right? And the greatest integer, so immediately what is the greatest integer less than 3.4? Of course, it is 3, right? So that's equals to 3. Okay, greatest, then symbol of 2.7. So that is greatest integer less than 2.7, right? So we will put it again on the number line, right? So if we put it on the number line here, so here we have 2.7. So greatest integer less than 2.7. So that is 2. So that's equals to 2. Once we have all the values, let's figure out what is minus 2 plus 3 plus 2, which is equals to 3. So hope this is clear. So what is very important in this question or the takeaway is symbol is irrelevant. What is important is the formula or the rule associated with the symbol, right? So follow the steps, which is defined by the symbol. All right, coming to the function questions. Now, I treat function questions or basically function as machine. So how is machine? You give the input, right? Input X. It gets processed inside the function machine. So this function machine that's described as F over here, it gets processed over here as per this and delivers the output, right? So here, if we give the input X as 1, right? And the function definition here is 2x plus 3. So this input gets processed, that is 2 times of 1 plus 3, that is for every instance of x you substitute it by 1, right? So 2 times of 1 plus 3, you get it as 5. So it gives you the output as 5. Similarly, if you take input x as 0, so again, this gets processed inside the function machine, right? That is f of 0, and which gives you back 3. So 3 is the output, all right? Okay, now let's do the function question here. So if f of x is equals to x squared plus 3x plus 2, then which of the following could be the value of value of x when f of x is equals to 30? All right, so in fact, there are two approaches to do this question. We will see both the ways. So first, we can work with the answer choices here, right? Because the question is asking for a specific value of x when function value is 30, right? So now how to work with the answer choices, we have seen that already, that we will label the answer choices first as x, then we can start either with answer choice B or we can start with answer choice D, right? Now, let us start with answer choice B, right? So that means we have x is equals to 1. So f of 1 is equals to, every instance of x is to be substituted by 1 now. So 1 square plus 3 times of 1 plus 2, which gives us 6, all right? So the output here for f of 1 is 6, right? So basically, this is f of x, okay? Now, it is not satisfying the condition given here in the question, because as per the condition, f of 1 should be 30, but it is 6. In fact, it is too small, right? So we can eliminate answer choice B. Now, if we can eliminate answer choice B, definitely we can eliminate option A also. Now, instead of moving with C and D, I would prefer to go immediately to answer choice E, because here this is very small value, right? And we need 30. So let's check with answer choice E. That is, if x is equals to 4, every instance of x will be replaced by 4 in the function definition. So we have 4 squared plus 3 times of 4 plus 2. So 16 plus 12 plus 2, that gives us 30. So this satisfies the condition given in the question. So the answer to our question is answer choice E. All right, so this is one of the way in which we can solve this question. Let's see the second method also, second approach. So here, what we can do, the function value is 30, right? And the question is asking for which value? So that means x squared plus 3x plus 2 is equals to 30. We need to figure out for what value of x this is equals to 30. We will convert it into the quadratic, a standard quadratic equation. So x squared plus 3x plus 2 minus, so minus 28 is equals to 0. So this is minus 28, okay? So this gives us x plus 7 and x minus 4 as the factors, okay? So solution for this equation is x minus 7 and x is equals to 4, all right? So the answer to our question is 4, because minus 7 is not there in the options, right? So this is the other approach in which you can solve this question. Pretty easy question. All right, now let's move on to the next question. For which of the following does f of x is equals to f of 2 minus x? Now, what we can observe here in this question, that we have two different inputs, x and 2 minus x, but the value of the function at these two different inputs is same, right? So the question is asking, which is that function which gives us the same output for f of x and f of 2 minus x, all right? Now, again, we have two approaches for these for this particular question, and we will see both the approaches. So first, let us work with the variables only, right? So here we already have f of x. We need to figure out what will be f of 2 minus x, right? So, okay, just a minute. So this is f of 2 minus x. I will put it here. So f of 2 minus x, okay? Every instance of x to be replaced by 2 minus x. So 2 minus x plus 2, right? Which gives us 4 minus x. So f of x is equals to f of 2 minus x? No. So eliminate answer choice A. Now moving on to the answer choice B, x is to be replaced by 2 minus x. So that means we have 2 times of 2 minus x minus 2 minus x whole square, right? Now we can take 2 minus x whole square common. So let's do that. So 2 times of 2 minus x, right? We have 1 minus 2 plus x, right? Because negative sign is outside. So this gives us 2 times of 2 minus x. And here we have x minus 1. Some mistake happened. Just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah. So f of 2 minus x. So this gives us 2 minus x plus 2, which is 4 minus x, right? And of course, these two are not equal. Let's look at option B. So 2 times of 2 minus x, so we can write it as 4 minus 2x minus 2 minus x whole square. So 2 minus x whole square, which gives us what? 4 minus 4x plus x square, right? So these two gets cancelled. And what we are left with? X square plus 2x. Is it or not? Sorry, minus x square plus 2x, right? So we have minus x square plus 2x. Or we can write it as take x common. So this is 2 minus x. Okay, so these two are same. Is it or not? So these two are same only, right? So that's the answer to our question. Now, the other way to do this question is, so what is the other way in which we can do this question? Yes, it is to pick numbers, right? We can take numbers. So let's do that. Look at that approach also. So here we have, let's take x is equals to 2. So if we take x is equals to 2, that means we need to figure out for f of 2 and 2 minus 2, that is f of 0, right? And then we need to figure out that whether f of 2 is equals to f of 0. All right, let's do this. So x is to be replaced by 2. So 2 plus 2, this is 4. 0 plus 2. And these two are not equal, right? So not equal. So we can eliminate answer choice A. B, so replace x by 2. So 2 to 4. 4 minus 4, that is 0. And here we have again 0. All right, we got that these two are equal, right? F of 2 is equals to f of 0, right? So we will hold it. Now, why to hold it? Because we are doing substitution, right? So for substitution strategy, we need to ensure that we are checking all the answer choices. Okay, so here we have 2 minus 2, that's 0, right? And 2 minus 0, that is 2. So again, these two are not equal. Eliminate it out. Okay, what about the next? So we have 2 minus 2 whole square, that is 0, right? 2 minus 0 whole square, that's 4. Again, these two are not equal. So if they are not equal, we can eliminate it out. Then this one, this is 2 square, that's 4. This is 0 square, 0, right? So these two are again not equal, right? So we can eliminate this also. The answer to our question is B. All right. So we have seen both the ways to solve this question, and it depends on question to question that which method you pick up. Maybe if you come across the question where you have a lot of complex functions, then it is better that you should pick numbers, else you can go ahead with variables also, if you are comfortable with maths, algebra, right? So that's what this question test. You will have the same output for different inputs. And the effective strategy is either to pick numbers or substitute both the variables in the functions. All right, now let's look at this question now. So for which of the following functions is f of a plus b is equals to f of a plus f of b for all positive numbers a and b? All right, so here again, it is checking about the equality of these, right? Now, there is a difference between the previous question and this question. In the previous question, we have seen that for two different inputs, we were getting the same outputs, right? Output. But here, this question is basically testing some maths property here, that f of a plus b is equals to f of a plus f of b. So you can have something like this also. F of a minus b is equals to f of a minus of f of b, or f of xy is equals to f of x into f of y, or it can be f of x is equals to 1 by x. So basically these question tests maths properties. All right. So with this, let's get started. So again, there are two approaches to do these type of questions. You can pick up numbers or you can go ahead with variables. Let's do this question first with variables and then we will figure out with numbers also. So we need to find out for first f of a plus b, and then f of a, and then f of b, all right? And we will add these two, that is f of a plus f of b, and figure out if f of a plus b is equals to f of a plus f of b or not. Let's do that. So here x is to be replaced by a plus b. So this is a plus b whole square. Here x is to be replaced by a. So that is a square. This is to be replaced by b. So b square, right? So this gives us f of a plus f of b as a square plus b square. And of course, these two are not equal. That is, f of a plus b is not equals to f of a plus f of b. So eliminate answer choice A. Now let's go ahead with option B. So here x is to be replaced by a plus b plus 1. Here it is to be replaced by a. So a plus 1. This is x is to be replaced by b. So b plus 1. So we have a plus b plus 2, right? And again, of course, these two are not equal. Eliminated. Next, we have root of a plus b plus 1, right? X is to be replaced by a plus b. Sorry, this is not 1. This is just root of a plus b. And here we get it as x is replaced by a, and here x is replaced by b. And this is root f of a plus f of b is equals to root of a plus root of b. So whether these two are equal, that f of a plus b is equals to f of a plus f of b, that is root of a plus b is equals to root of a plus root of b? No. So it's gone. Next option. All right. So here x is to be replaced by a plus b. So a plus b, and here x is to be replaced by a. Here x is to be replaced by b. Next, we need to add f of a plus f of b. So we can take 2 common, and here we have 1 by a plus 1 by b. All right. So whether these two are equal? No, right? These two times 2 by a plus b is not same as 2 times of 1 by a plus 1 by b. So eliminate this. Anyways, answer choice E is the only option which is left. So that has to be the correct answer, but we will check it here. So this is minus 3 times of a plus b. All right. This is minus 3a. X is replaced by a. X is replaced by b. So this is minus 3a minus 3b, which is equals to minus 3 times of a plus b. So now we can see clearly that these two are equal. So that's the correct answer. All right, so this is the one way. And now let's look at the other way to solve this question. All right, so we need to substitute the values for the variables a and b. So let's take a is equals to 1, all right, and b is equals to 2. Okay, so with this, we need to calculate f of 1 plus 2, that is f of 3, right? And then this needs to be checked that whether this is equals to the sum of f of 1 and f of 2. So that is what we need to find out here. That whether f of 3 is equals to f of 1 plus f of 2. Okay, so if we look at this one, so here we have x is replaced by 3, so this is 3 squared, that gives us 9, and here we have 1, and here we have 4. Of course, 9 is not equals to 5, right? So we can eliminate option A. So if we look at option B or answer choice B, so here 3 plus 1, that's 4, right? And this is 1 plus 1, right? That's 2. And here 2 plus 1, 3, right? Again, 4 is not equals to 5. So eliminate option B. All right, now let's look at option C. So here x is to be replaced by 3, right? So root 3. This is root 1. This is root 2, right? So whether root 3 is equals to root of 1 plus root of 2? No, these two are not equal. You cannot combine them, right? So these two are not equal, eliminated. Now here, 2 by 3, x is to be replaced by 3. Here x is to be replaced by 1. And here x is to be replaced by 2, right? So we have 2 by 1. And here it is 2 by 2, that's 1. So of course 2 by 3 is, so here we have 2 by 3 is not equals to 3, 2 plus 1, right? All right, let's look at the last one. So here minus 3 times of 3 and minus 3 times of 1 minus 3 times of 2, which gives us minus 9, right? Minus 9 is equals to minus 3 minus 6, right? That is minus 9. So yes, option D is also eliminated and we are left with answer choice E. So hope this is clear. So this is the second approach to do the question where the function question tests the math properties, right? So here again, effective strategy is either you can pick numbers or you can substitute variables with the values, right? So hope these two question types on functions, they are again clear. And with this now, let's move on to the other type of function question. So here, for every integer x, f of x represent the greatest prime factor of x factorial and g of x represent the smallest prime factor of 2 power of x plus 1. What is g times of f times of 12? All right. First of all, this question is testing compound functions, right? Now, what are compound functions? So compound functions, you have a function inside the functions, right? So what you need to do, you have to solve the innermost function first, and then you will be moving outside, right? Okay, so here, so that means first we need to figure out the value for f of 12. So what is f of 12? Now let's go ahead with the function definition. So f of 12 represent greatest prime factor of 12 factorial, right? So greatest prime factor of 12 factorial. So 12 factorial is what? 12 into 11 into 10 into so on till 1, right? So what is the greatest prime factorial over here? Greatest prime factor? Greatest prime factor is 11, right? So that means f of 12 is equals to 11. Okay, now once we got the value for f of 12, we will place it back again for the value of g, right? So g of 11. Now what is g of 11? So g of 11 represents the smallest prime factor. So just write it down. The smallest prime factor of 2 power of 11 plus 1, right? Okay, so it's a huge number, but of course we can do the calculation because you need to know from 2 power of 1 to till 2 power of 10, right? But one answer choice for sure we can eliminate it. That is, we know that this is going to be an even number and this is odd, right? So even plus odd will give the sum as odd only, right? So that means the question is asking for the smallest prime factor of an odd number. And of course, that cannot be 2, right? So now let's figure it out. So 2 power of 10, 2 power of 10 is what? 1024, right? So that means 1024 into 2 plus 1. So we need to find out the smallest prime factor of this. So what is the smallest prime factor? So smallest prime factor of, now what is this? 2048 plus 1. So 2048 plus 1, that is, you need to figure out the smallest prime factor of 2049. All right. Now, in order to find out the smallest prime factor, if we look at the answer choices, we have 3, 5, 7, 11, right? Now, let's check for 3, whether 3 is the we know that 3 is a prime factor. Let's see whether this number is divisible by 3 or not. So in order to check for the divisibility by 3, so if we add all the digits of this number, right? So here we have 2 plus 4, 6, 6 plus 9, 15. So we get the sum as 15. So if sum of all the digits is divisible by 3, then the number is also divisible by 3. So that means this number is divisible by 3, right? So definitely 3 is going to be the factor for this, right? So the smallest prime factor is answer choice B, right? That is 3. So hope this is clear. All right, now the other type of function questions which are tested on GMAT, they are based on proportionality. Now, proportionality, that's of two types, direct proportionality and inverse proportionality. So what happens in the direct proportion, when one quantity increases, it forces the other quantity to decrease, right? So that means the two quantities change by the same factor and in the same direction. So what does that mean? That if input changes by 3 times, it will force the output also to change by 3 times. All right. So here, if we have x is directly proportional to y, so this implies that x is equals to ky, where k is the proportionality constant. So that means the ratio of x by y is equals to constant. So that's the reason we have x1 by y1 is equals to x2 by y2 is equals to the proportionality constant. All right. Now coming to inverse proportion, here when one quantity increases, it forces the other quantity to decrease. So that's the reason two quantities change by the reciprocal numbers and in the opposite direction. So that means when input, let's say if input value is doubled, then output value becomes half, right? So here, x is inversely proportional to y. So this implies that x is equals to ky, right? Where k is the proportionality constant. So that means, I'm so sorry, x is equals to k by y, right? Where k is the proportionality constant. So that means xy is equals to k. So that's the reason we have x1, y1 is equals to x2, y2 is equals to k, right? That's a proportionality constant. So in direct proportion, ratio is constant. In inverse proportion, product is constant. All right, now let's do the question based on this. The maximum height reached by an object thrown directly upward is directly proportional to the square of the velocity with which the object is thrown. If an object thrown upward at 15 feet per second reaches a maximum height of 4 feet, 16 feet per second reaches a maximum height of 4 feet, with what velocity must the object be thrown upward to reach a maximum height of 9 feet? So what we can observe here, that this question is on the proportionality because we have the word proportionality. But the very important thing is you need to read before this word whether it is direct proportion or inverse proportion. Now, as it is in direct proportion, so that means the ratio of the two is constant. So here, let's write it down. That is maximum height, right, is directly proportional to a square of the velocity. Okay, again, just be careful and mindful about this square, right? It is not only velocity, it is a square of the velocity. So that means we can write it as maximum height is equals to k times of v square, right? Where k is the proportionality constant. So we can set up the ratio as constant. So we have h1, h2 is equals to v1 by v2, right? So what is the initial height? What is the height given initially? It is 4 feet, right? And so 4 by 9, right, is equals to, that is the height h2, right? And what is the initial velocity? Initial velocity is if an object is thrown at 16 feet per second. So we have 16 feet per second over what? Okay, that's what the question is asking over here, right? That, okay, so this is v1 square and v2 square, and this is again a square into v2 square, right? So with this, we will get v2 Okay, let's do this question. The maximum height reached by an object thrown directly upward is directly proportional to the square of the velocity with which the object is thrown. So here what is given to us? That maximum height is directly proportional to the square of the velocity, right? Now, very important that you should be reading the word before the proportionality, whether it is direct proportion or inverse proportion. And one thing, the maximum height reached by an object thrown directly upward is directly proportional to the square of the velocity with which the object is thrown. If an object thrown upward at 15 feet per second, 16 feet per second reaches the maximum height of 4 feet, with what velocity must the object be thrown upward, right, to reach a maximum height of 9 feet? All right. Now here what is given to us? That maximum height is directly proportional to the square of the velocity, right? Now, very important that you should be aware of these words directly, right? And then a square. It is not only the velocity, it is directly proportional to a square of the velocity. So that means you can write it as maximum height is equals to k times of v squared, right? So this gives us the ratio of the two remains constant. That is maximum height by the square of velocity is equals to constant, right? So we can write it as h1 maximum by v1 square is equals to h2 maximum by v2 square. Now we have everything in place over here. What is the height? What is the initial height given here? h1 is given to us as 4 feet, right? So 4 feet. What is the initial velocity with which this object reaches the height of 4 feet? That is 16 feet per second. So that means we have 16 feet per second, right? This is whole square, right? Is equals to, now h2 is 9 feet here, right? And we need to figure out v2. So with this, we get v2 square is equals to 9 into 16 by 4, right? So this gets cancelled here. So v2, we need to take the square root on both the sides. So this is 3 into 2, right? If we take the square root, so we will get this as 3 into 2 into 4. So which is equals to 24 feet per second, right? So the answer to our question is option D. We can eliminate all other answer choices. All right. So hope this is clear. So whenever you come across direct proportionality questions, set up the ratios. That's it. Okay. Now moving on to the next question. Let's read it. The amount of electrical current that flows through a wire is inversely proportional to the resistance in that wire. So here again, we have the word proportional, right? So read before this. So it is inversely proportional, and it is inversely proportional to resistance, right? So current is inversely proportional to resistance. So that means we can write it as C is equals to K by R, right? Where K is the proportionality constant, or C into R, where C is the current that flows and R is the resistance. CR is equals to K, right? So you need to set up the product here. So with this, what we have, C1 R1 is equals to C2 R2. Now let's go ahead and figure out what is C1 and C2. And so here, if a wire currently carries 4 amperes, so C1 is 4 amperes, but the resistance is then cut to 1/3 of its original value. But the resistance, so that means if the current resistance is R, and now this is cut to 1/3 of its value, the question is asking how many of the electrical current will flow through the wire. So the question is asking for C2. So C2 is equals to, now what? This gets cancelled. So that is equals to 12 amperes, right? So the answer to this question is E. We can eliminate all other answer choices. So hope this is clear. So whenever you come across inverse proportionality, set up the products. All right. Okay. Now coming to common patterns on GMAT. So basically we can say pattern recognition questions on GMAT. Now, how will you come across, or how will you get to know that you need to figure out the pattern in these questions? So a very simple tip. Maybe if you come across a calculation which is not at all possible to do. For example, if the question asks you to find the sum of, let's say, 1 plus 2 plus 3 till 975 terms like this, right? Is it possible to figure out the sum of all these numbers? No, it is not possible, right? Even if we use calculator, it is not possible to do the sum, right? Yeah, of course it's possible, but definitely not with the ordinary calculator, right? Okay, so here, definitely, or maybe if the question asks you to find the unit digit of, let's say, 3 to 5, 4 power of 495, right? Is it possible to figure out the unit digit of this? No, it is not possible, just with a simple calculation, right? So whenever you come across the complex calculation and you know that it is not possible to do it in the given time, right? It is not at all possible. Then that means you need to look out for certain patterns, right? And that is what we call as pattern recognition questions. Now, the common pattern questions which you come across on GMAT, so it's a unit digit problem, something like this, remainder problem, and the sequence problem, right? Now, Okay, now common tips or the tips to figure out which can help you to solve the pattern questions is, so compute the first 5 to 8 terms. Now, once you figure out first 5 to 8 terms, maybe you will get the pattern, right? You will be able to figure out the pattern there in the question, right? And try to match this pattern with some basic pattern. So basic pattern, maybe the counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, or the squares of these numbers. So 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, and so on, or the exponent of a number. So 2 power of 1, 2 square, right? And then 2 cube, and so on, right? Or maybe the multiple of any number. So multiples of 3, 3, uh, then 6, then 9, 12, and so on, right? So compute the first 5 to 8 terms and try to figure out the pattern, because most of the time on GMAT you will get the pattern in first 4 questions only. If you do not find it, try to calculate further, right? But of course, you will find maybe in the sixth pattern, from the sixth pattern, or maybe less than that, right? Okay. Then the other tip is look for the repeating cycle. So maybe you get the repeating cycle as 3, 6, 9, 1, and again 3, 6, 9, 1, right? So now the moment you get the repeated term, figure out, are you getting these repeating sequence of numbers again, right? So that's what. Then the third tip is, now if you are unable to figure out with these two, then look out for patterns within the difference between the terms or sum across the term. That is, if you just get stuck and you're unable to figure out with these two tips, right? Then try to figure out the patterns between these within the sums, within the difference and the sum. And maybe even you have to look out for the cumulative sum also of the terms, right? Or look at the characteristic of numbers, that is positive or negative, odd, even, and so on, right? So let's do the question based on the same. So here, if each number in the sequence is 3 more than the previous number and the sixth number is 32, what is the 100th number? Of course, it is not possible that you can figure out 100th number like that, right? So that means it is a pattern recognition question. And if it is a pattern recognition question, try to write down first few terms. So first number, okay, so they have started here with the sixth term. So the sixth term in the sequence is 32, right? Now, what will be the seventh term? Seventh term in the sequence will be 32 because it is 3 more than 32 plus 3. What will be the eighth term over here? So it is 32 plus 3 plus 3, right? Or we can also write it as 32 plus 2 times of 3, okay? And what's the ninth term? So ninth term, it's going to be 32 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So we can just write it as 32 plus 3 times of 3. Now, after writing these 3/4 term over here, can we make out that there is some pattern over here? Yes, because when it is moving from 6 to 7 term, there is a jump of 3. When from 6 to 8, there is a jump of 2, 3, right? When from 6 to 9, there is a jump of 3 threes, right? So what does that mean? That means for 100th term, there will be jump of how many threes? There will be jump of 32 plus 94 jumps of 3, right? So that means 32 plus 282, which gives us 4. And so here, yeah, 314, right? Okay, so with this, the answer choice C is the correct answer. So hope this is clear. So that's what I said, that try to write down the first few terms. Most of the time on GMAT questions, you will be able to get the pattern in first four only, right? If not, then try out for few more, maybe fifth, sixth, you will get it. Okay. Now the question here is asking for unit digit of 493 power of 133. Now, in order to figure out the unit digit for such a big number, and we know that it is not possible to calculate this, right? So if it is not possible to do that, that means we need to figure out the pattern here, figure out the pattern in the powers of this, right? So, okay. Now, one thing before we start this, before we go further with this question is, that unit digit of 493 power of 133 is same as unit digit of 4 3 power of 133, right? So take the last digit of this number. So the unit digit over here is same as this, okay? So that means we need to figure out the unit digit for this number, 3 power of 133. So as I said, it's not possible to calculate. We will figure out the patterns and the powers of 3. So we will start with the least power. So 3 power of 1, that's 3. 3 square, that's 9. Okay, 3 cube, that's 27. So all these are unit digit. Okay, I'm just writing UD here. And 3 power of 4, that is 1, right? And 3 power of 5. So the unit digit is 3. Okay, the moment this term is getting repeated, we will figure out for a few more terms that are we getting the repeating pattern here? So 3 power of 6, right? So that's 9. Yes. So what does that mean here? The pattern is getting repeated after every fourth term, right? So this is first term here, second term, third term, and fourth term, right? So the pattern is getting repeated after every fourth term. So we can write it as 3 power of 4 into 33, right? Plus 1, right? So that means, and one thing more we can notice here, that what is the unit digit for every fourth term? The unit digit for every fourth term is 1. So that means the unit digit for this term is also going to be 1. So we will write it as 3 power of 4 into 33 into 3 power of 1. So the unit digit of this number is 1 into 3. So the unit digit is 3. So hope this is clear, and that is how we figure out the unit digit for any number. That is, we will find out the repeated pattern, right? Now, once we get the repeated pattern, we will see that it is repeating after which term, right? And write it as the multiple, whatever the power is given to you, write it down as the multiple of that particular term. So here, the unit digit was getting repeated after every fourth term. So that's the reason I wrote the power as multiple of 4. And now we have the remaining one over here, right? And now figure out what is the unit digit for at every fourth term, right? So that is 1 here, right? So hope this is clear. Now let's move on to the next question. So what is the remainder when 13 power of 18 plus 17 power of 13 is divided by 10, right? Now again, something weird. It is not possible that we can calculate the sum of these two big numbers, right? And then figure out the remainder when it is divided by 10. All right. So how we need to proceed further in the question? So the first thing is, uh, let's try to take few simple examples and figure out, okay, what is the remainder we are getting when we are dividing any number by 10. So here, because maybe we can figure out some common pattern in the remainders, right? So that is what we have to find out. So we are trying to figure out the patterns in the remainder. So let's see. So if I take 27 by 10, so here remainder is 7, right? If it is 79 by 10 or 279 by 10, still remainder is 9, right? So what we can observe here, or if I take 22 by 10, so again, remainder is 2. So what I can observe from this, that the remainder, when a number is divided by 10, is same as the unit digit of the number, right? So basically, we can rephrase the question as that we need to figure out the unit digit of 13 power of 18 plus 17 power of 13. All right. Now, unit digit of 13 power of 18 plus 17 power of 13, we know that's same as 3 power of 18 plus 7 power of 13, right? So this is same unit digit of, okay. All right, so now again, let's do the same way. We know that for 3, the unit digit repeats after every 4th term, right? And that's the reason we will write the power as the multiple of 4. So we will write this as 3 power of 4 into 4 plus 2. All right. But we need to check for the pattern for 7 for 7 over here, right? So let's start with the least power. So 7 power of 1, that is 7. 7 square, that is 9. 7 cube, that is 3, right? 7 power of 4, that is 1. And then again 7 power of 5. So here this is 7. And again we can see that the pattern is getting repeated after every 4th term, right? So if the pattern is repeating from here, we will write again the power as a multiple of 4. So 4 into 3 plus 1, right? Now here, 3 power of 4 into 4, right? And into 3 square plus 7 power of 4 into 3 into 7 power of 1, right? So let me just make it a small. All right, so here unit digit for every 4th term in case of 3 is 1, right? So 1 into 9. And what is the unit digit for every 4th term in 7 is again 1 here, right? So that means this is 1 into 7 power of 1, that is 7, right? So with this, we got the unit digit of 9 plus 7, that is 16, whatever the number is. So the unit digit is 6, right? So that's the answer to our question, right? So that is the remainder when we divide this such a big number by 10. So the takeaway is that the remainder when you divide any number by 10 is same as the unit digit of that number. All right, now let's do the next question. So here, the sequence xn is defined as follows. Xn is equals to, so what is this xn? This is the nth term of the sequence is 2 times of. Now, how am I going to read these type of recursive sequence? So that's again something you can take it as a tip. Okay, no, do not read it as xn is equals to 2 times of xn minus 1 minus 1. No, read it as next term, right? Next term is equals to 2 times of the previous term minus 1, right? Whenever n is an integer, greater than 1, okay, if x1, that is the first term, is 3, what is the value of x20 minus x19? So x20 minus x19, that is what the question is asking us to figure out. Okay, now if we are going to do this, right, really it's going to take a lot of time, right? So definitely, again, we need to figure out the pattern between the differences of the two consecutive terms, right? So let's start with the least. So x1 is 3, x2 will be what? Next term is 2 times of the previous term minus 1. So 2 times of the previous term, that is 6 minus 1, which is equals to 5. X3 will be how much? So x3 is 2, 5, 10. 10 minus 1, that is 9. Okay, so what is x4? x4 is 2 times of 9, that is 18. 18 minus 1, 17. All right. The question here is not asking for these terms. The question is asking for the difference of these terms. So what is the difference between the first two, x2 minus x1? This is 2. All right. What is the difference between x3 minus x2? So here it is 4, right? So let's write it as 2 squared. That's 4 over here. What is the difference between x3 and x4? So 17 minus 9, that is how much? 8, right? So let's write it as 2 cubed. Okay. So what, can we observe the pattern over here? Yes, we can observe the pattern. That means, now tell me immediately, if I have x5, so x5 is 33. So what will be what is the difference between these two? We know with the pattern what we are getting, it's going to be 2 power of 4. We do not have to calculate it also, right? So now we know the difference between like x19 and x20. So we need to figure out the difference between these two. So what will be the difference between these two numbers? That's going to be 2 power of 19, right? So hope this is again clear. So again, see, as I said earlier, so maybe you have to figure out the repeating pattern, or you have to match it with the basic patterns we already know, or maybe you have to calculate the difference between the sum, right? So let's move on to the next question. Okay, what is the value of A is equals to 1 by 1 into 2 plus 1 by 2 into 3 plus 1 by 3 into 4 plus 1 by 99 into 100. It's a huge sum, right? And definitely it's not possible to calculate in a given time, right? So definitely the question is about, it's basically about to figure out the pattern here, right? So to figure out the pattern, now we know that is we have A is equals to 1 by 4, right? So this is the first term. Here we have second term, third term, and this is the 99 term. So A is 1 by 4 plus 1 by 6 plus 1 by 12, right? And what will be the fourth term? 1 by 4 into 5. So that means 1 by 20 plus 1 by 99 into 100. All right. Now, how can we do this? Definitely it doesn't make sense here to figure out the differences. Neither we are getting, we can see any difference, like we can figure out any common pattern over here, right? Not as such, right? So how can we do this? So we can go ahead with the cumulative sum approach. So cumulative sum approach, so we can write it as, because the cumulative sum of the two terms is 1 by 4 plus 1 by 6. So that makes it, so this is 12, right? And 3 plus 2, so we have 5 by 12. Am I doing correct or anything? Oh, I am so sorry. This is 1 by 2. That's what I was thinking, right? So this is 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 plus 1 by 6 plus 1 by 12 plus 1 by 20. So we will figure out the cumulative sum of the first two terms. So 1 by 2 plus 1 by 6. So which makes it 6, 3 plus 1, 4 by 6. So we have 2 by 3 here, right? And now let's find out the cumulative sum of the first three terms. So the cumulative sum of the first three terms is the cumulative sum of the first two terms plus the third term sum. So what is the third term sum here? It is 1 by 12, right? So with this we get, okay, so 8 plus 1. So this is 9 by 12. So 9 by 12, that is 3 by 4. Okay. And now let's figure out what is the cumulative sum of the first four terms. So the cumulative sum of the first four terms is, we will add the cumulative sum of the first three terms, that is 3 by 4, and the fourth term. What is the fourth term? We have 1 by 20, right? So which is equals to 20, and this is 5, 3, 15, 15 plus 1, 16. So that's 16 by 20, so which is equals to 4 by 5. Okay, with this, can you tell me that are we able to observe any pattern here? Yes. Pattern in the cumulative sum? Yes. So cumulative sum of the first two is 2 by 3. Cumulative sum of the first three is 3 by 4, right? So that means the cumulative sum of the 99th term will be how much? 99 by 100. So that's the answer to our question, right? So hope this is clear, right? Okay, so there is one more way in which we can do this question. You can write the general term for this. So what will be the general term for this? So the general term is going to be 1 by n into n plus 1, right? And n is a positive integer starting from 1. Okay. Now we can break it into the difference of 2. So we can write it as 1 by n minus 1 by n plus 1, right? And so if we have to find out the sum of this, so the question can give you something like this also, right? So just break it into the difference of the difference like this, because why am I doing this? Because with this, maybe you will be able to cancel out some terms in between. Yes, now 1 by n minus 1 by n plus 1, that is again how much? N plus 1 minus n, so 1 by n into n plus 1. So it's same as this. So that is what I have. That is how I have written this, right? So now, once we start doing this, so this we can write it as 1 by 2, right? Sorry. This is for the first term, 1 minus 1 by 2. Then if n is equals to 2, so this is 1 by 2 minus 1 by 3. And if n is equals to 3, so if this will be 1 by 3 minus 1 by 4, right? And if it is 99th term, so that means it's going to be 1 by 99 minus 1 by 100, right? So what we can see that all these terms in between, they get cancelled. So that means this will also get cancelled with the previous 98th term, right? So now what we will be left with? We are left with 1 minus 1 by 100, which is equals to 99 by 100, right? So this is the another way in which you can do this. So it depends on you what you find convenient. But yes, I feel that this is more easy and you can figure it out because they have not given the general term over here. They gave you the values. And suppose if they give you something like this, that you have to find out the sum of this, right? Try to break it. See, they can give you this also, right? In this case, you will get a series like this, or they can give you this also, right? Let us find the sum of this. So this is easy, right? And if they give you this, then probably it is easy, like it's 500 or 550 level question, right? But if they give you like this, so again, it's a hard question, and this is again a hard question. So I hope these questions are clear. That is the pattern recognition question, when you will spot that it is a pattern recognition question, and what are the tips which will help you to solve the pattern questions. Okay, so yeah,